Dominik Szoboszlai is the heartbeat of this Arne Slot Liverpool team. Yes, you heard that right. Based on the comments we're getting every time we praise the player, we're guessing some of you are a bit confused. Are we talking about the same Szoboszlai who's already missed a couple of sitters this season? Isn't he the one struggling in the final third, misplacing passes and failing to create clear chances for his teammates? While there might be some truth to those criticisms, we believe that the Hungarian is actually playing a crucial role in Liverpool's current setup. Just maybe, this role is impacting his effectiveness in front of goal. So in today's video, we'll break down exactly what Dominik Szoboszlai brings to the table, how his presence on the pitch helps the team breathe, and why his role might be affecting his output in the final third. But first guys, as always, please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, and let's dive straight into it. So to understand Szoboszlai's importance on the pitch, we're going to dive into his responsibilities with and without the ball, starting with what he does when Liverpool are in possession. As we often mentioned in our game reviews, Liverpool's build-up structures are always shifting. Sometimes it's the common 3-2-5, other times it's a 4-1-4, and occasionally we even see a rare 3-3-4. This fluidity in the build-up play is a joy to watch, adding an element of his unpredictability as the Reds try to break through the opposition's lines. Now, if the system is constantly evolving, you might assume that the players have complete freedom to roam and swap positions whenever they like, right? Well, the answer is both yes and no. This concept is often called fluid rigidity. Players do have the flexibility to occupy different spaces, but there are still certain boundaries. For example, Trent Alexander-Arnold can push high up the pitch or tuck into midfield. Luis Diaz has the option to stay wide or drift into the left half space. Diogo Jota can stay high as a forward, but he can also drop deeper, acting as a false nine when needed. You get the idea. Like the rest of the team, the midfield trio also has this kind of freedom, though Ryan Gravenberch usually stays deeper, anchoring the number 6 position. Dom and Maka, on the other hand, have a bit more freedom. When Maka pushes forward, Dominik tends to drop back, and vice versa. So it's clear that the Hungarian has multiple responsibilities when Liverpool are in possession. He might be listed as a number 10 on the team sheet, but his role on the pitch is far from that of a typical playmaker. Did you know the football season begins whenever you want with Sorare? So if you think that you can take on the best in the world, this is where you prove it. Every week, Sorare's Best of Europe zeroes in on the biggest games, from Champions League clashes to the top of the league derbies. This week's lineup features Liverpool versus Brighton. Here's the best part: every lineup entered in this magic game week wins something guaranteed. So whether you're a seasoned fan or new to fantasy, get your lineup ready each match day in a fresh chance to score incredible rewards. Don't wait before this week's deadline and dive into these can't miss matches. In fact, when we look at the stats, Szoboszlai actually ranks low among Premier League midfielders for touches in the attacking third and penalty area. Instead, he's in the top percentiles for touches in the defensive and middle thirds, averaging 32.29 touches per game in central areas. So why isn't Szoboszlai getting on the ball higher up the pitch as often as we'd like? The answer is pretty simple. When Liverpool are circulating possession, Dominik is constantly scanning the field, often dropping closer to the initial build-up line, even when McAllister is already sitting deep. He's searching for open spaces to occupy, aiming to make himself a reliable passing option. You'll see him slotting into the pivot, stretching the field wide as the left or right midfielder, and even making runs forward to break through the opposition's lines. The 3 pictures we showed earlier show exactly the different positions Szoboszlai can occupy in every single game. This versatility is clear in his season heat map. It shows Szoboszlai popping up all over the pitch, though he's less active on the left side, a factor we'll discuss later in the video, and how it impacts his contributions in the final third. As we mentioned, Szoboszlai is always making himself available as a passing option. Whether he's laying the ball off to keep possession moving and pull opposition players out of position, or charging forward himself at pace, this ability to adapt and drive is what made Szoboszlai stand out this season. Currently, he ranks 3rd among Premier League midfielders for acceleration and 6th for progressive runs. His combination of running power and athleticism makes him a force to be reckoned with when he's carrying the ball forward. A perfect example of this came in our recent clash with Arsenal. In this play, Szoboszlai is seen probing the midfield, occupying open space to make himself a passing option. He even drops deeper to make it easier for Konate to find him with a pass. This movement not only pulled Declan Rice out of position, but it also effectively took him out of play. Szoboszlai received the ball on the half turn, used his strength to shield it, and then relied on his pace to break away. In the first half against Arsenal, Liverpool clearly missed that athletic edge in the midfield, with only Curtis Jones able to match Arsenal's physicality. We needed someone who could act as an outlet, breaking through pressure and carrying the ball forward, and that's exactly what Szoboszlai brings to the table. When the opponents press us high around our own box, there's no better midfielder than Szoboszlai to turn those situations into dangerous counter-attacks for Liverpool. But there's another area where Szoboszlai's influence often flies under the radar. See, under Arne Slot's approach, Liverpool are frequently looking to play more direct, targeting Darwin Núñez or Mo Salah with long balls. Of course, these passes aren't always guaranteed to find their target. They're more like 50-50 balls, so keeping possession depends heavily on us winning the second ball. This is where Szoboszlai comes in, giving us a crucial advantage. By being quick to read these situations and positioning himself well, he helps Liverpool regain control and catch the opposition while they're still scrambling to reset. Szoboszlai always seems to be in the right place at the right time to contest those second balls, using his athleticism to get into position and win possession high up the pitch. We'd love to give you some numbers to back this up, but unfortunately, despite searching around, we couldn't find any specific stat on this particular skill. Now that we've covered the key aspects of Szoboszlai's role when Liverpool have the ball, let's shift to what he brings when we're out of possession. This season, we've often been pressing in a relatively passive 4-2-4 shape. While this approach has its flaws, it looks even shakier when Szoboszlai isn't on the pitch. Let us explain why. In the image here, you can see our full structure: a backline 4, a double pivot in midfield, and a frontline 4 with Szoboszlai stepping alongside the striker. In this setup, Szoboszlai is usually the one initiating the press, even when our approach is more passive. With his RB Leipzig background, he's developed into an excellent presser, curving his runs to pin opponents into one side of the pitch and recognizing pressing triggers with precision. But let's put that aside for a moment. As we mentioned, our pressing isn't as intense as it was under Jurgen Klopp. Now we're allowing opponents more time and space during the build-up. To compensate for this, we need physical players who can cover the ground quickly. That's why Curtis Jones took on his role against Arsenal in the first half, and why we needed him in the pivot alongside Szoboszlai. His athleticism helps fill the gaps in a less aggressive pressing structure. Unfortunately, there aren't many stats available for measuring players' numbers of presses, but we can tell you that Szoboszlai averages 1.79 passes blocked and 4.95 recoveries per 90 minutes, putting him among the top Premier League midfielders in those areas. So let's piece it all together. Szoboszlai is responsible for finding space to facilitate ball progression, using his running power to be a transitional threat, and positioning himself perfectly to contest second balls. Defensively, Szoboszlai is this team's primary presser and is also tasked with tracking back and covering ground. It's a heavy load to carry, and it might explain some of the lapses in his decision making and execution in the final third. When a player has so many physical responsibilities, it's natural for fatigue to affect their sharpness where it matters most. Now, we're not here to make excuses for Szoboszlai. Some of his choices in the final third this season have been, frankly, poor. But there's another major factor affecting his output. Earlier we mentioned how Szoboszlai is active all over the pitch, but spends less time on the left-hand side. And here's the thing. That left-hand side is where Szoboszlai can be at his most creative. His in-swinging crosses from the left are almost always well-weighted and land in dangerous areas, and his shooting technique is also better suited to that position. So, while the heavy workload certainly plays a part, the bigger issue is that he's simply not getting enough opportunities in the area where he's most effective in the game. That, more than anything, is holding back his numbers. So is it worth sacrificing Szoboszlai's threat higher up the pitch for this role? So far, the answer is yes. Just like we said at the beginning of the video, Szoboszlai is the lungs of this team, and his presence brings more than just goals and assists. Now, that doesn't mean he shouldn't work on his decision making and execution in the final third, but given the role he's playing, the physical demands it involves, and the fact that he's operating on the right more than the left, it's understandable why his output hasn't met everybody's expectations. So are you convinced that Szoboszlai's influence goes beyond just scoring and creating goals? Or do you still think he should be benched in the upcoming games? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed today's video, why not hit the like and subscribe button for more Liverpool deep dives. Thank you, I'll see you all next time. Take care.